All right. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the third lecture in Systems Development Framework. And I think we have two guests, Faith and Joseph, who are joining us. The conversation with them, I would like to quickly answer a couple of questions which remained unanswered since last time. And that is, if you remember, I was asked, what's like the equivalent of this shorthand when you have a method inside an object? And I just want to quickly show it to you so you can see. I'm going to close the public chat and this. Sorry, Yuri, I forgot to close the public chat first. But you can see my screen now.
You are now
Can you see my screen?
You are now muted.
So the answer is, of course, on the Mozilla Developer Network, which is an amazing resource for everything related to JavaScript, or basically web applications and web technologies in general. And we have a method definitions. You just search for method definitions, you come here. And there they also explain the shorthand syntax, which was introduced in ECMAScript 5. And you can see it here. So this is equivalent to this. Do you remember that people were asking what this actually does when you're inside an object? I think people were asking this in, like, we were writing a single file component, and then people were asking that. I couldn't really answer. Oh, so someone say something, please.
You are now unmuted.
Okay, you should see, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. You should see a browser opening developer.mozilla.org.
I can see the browser. It's not laggy. I just don't remember the question from last week.
All right, no problem. So the question was, you have, yeah. Damn, I don't have an example right here. But anyways, the question was like, you have this object, and what does that mean? Okay, and it's like a shorthand syntax for function, like the ordinary function expression. And people asking, and I couldn't really tell. So that here is the same as this, okay? As explained also on the developer docs. Does it make sense? Silence. I'm always a little bit nervous when no one is answering. Another thing was, what was the difference of arrow function expression with a normal function expression? So first I learned the terminology. There are arrow function expressions, then there are function expressions, and then there are function declarations. So function declarations look like this. That's what you're probably used to. You have a name, and you just declare it, and later on you reference the name. That's function declaration. But there's also a function expression where you assign an anonymous function to a variable. And there's the arrow function where you do the same thing. Like this. Or to a variable somewhere down here. Yeah, this would be, for example, an arrow function. So they have an anonymous function and assigned it to that. And another question which I wasn't able to answer last time was, what's the difference? And the answer is complex. So I'm just gonna recommend to you to check out these three. I'm gonna stop the sharing for a second. I'm gonna share these links in the notes. Shared notes. Come on. Here. And I told you that the scope of arrow function is different. especially when you deal with this. Expression and function declaration is missing. Here you go. I hope you can have all access to the shared notes now. And to show you the difference between function expression and arrow function, and like a normal function expression and an arrow function, they have a nice example down here. If you scroll further down, blah, 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 blah. I think it's this one here. So the only difference between this piece of this example here is that they have a function called add, which is here declared as a function expression, like an anonymous function with this keyword. And down here you have the arrow function. Same thing. And I have that already on my computer. And the difference is that, among other things, that the scope of this is different. So when you have a function, then this refers to what is being bind, and they are binding it to object. Yeah, an object here has a property called num, which is 100, and this is where you can also declare on the global another variable. And this is now a function expression, and these three methods here have an effect, and they basically bind this here to the object, right? So this.num refers to 100 here. So this 100 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is, let's save that, 106. Can you see that? Someone please say. Hello, am I alone?
Yeah.
We can see that.
Nice. And if I do that, then an arrow function expression have its own bind of this. Like these three here don't make any, like have no difference. And this stays the global this. So now suddenly we add a plus b plus c to 2020. Okay, which then, let's say that is something completely else. All right. So here are the two answers which I wanted to give you since last lecture. First, the equivalent of the shorthand syntax and the difference between arrow function expression and traditional function expression. And it's always like a little bit confusing. And you should probably just remember that when you have an object and you have methods within this object, even these docs here, they recommend not to use arrow function expression inside an object. This is then called a method, right? So they call method a property of an object. Yeah. So sometimes using all of these terms, but when you do that, like just always use this notation and you're good. So when you have an object, use this notation. And when you have a function which you want to use as a variable and you're not deal this, then use arrow functions, I would say. Maybe someone from the audience can tell me if that's a good takeaway from from that. Does it make sense? Does it about it? I'm gonna quickly stop screen sharing and make a poll if you can still follow me. So are you still with me? Start a poll. Yes, no? Okay, interesting. So most people can understand what I was talking about. I was aware that I might confuse a little bit some people, but it was important for me to get this right because I couldn't really answer that last lecture. Thank you very much. Here are the results. And if you have further questions regarding that, please ask. You can either write into the chat or just unmute your microphone and answer a question. silence. Okay, fair enough. Also, I cannot see anything in the public chat. Can someone just write something in the public chat so I can see that you're alive? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Cool. All right. Now, after having that sorted, I would say let's start the conversation with Faith and Joseph. And I'm very delighted that you're with us. And if you want, I'm not asking you to do so, but if you want, you can share your webcam as soon as I unlock you. So I need to unlock you in order to, where are you? There. Unlock Faith. And if you want, I'm going to unlock you, Joseph, but I think you don't want to. Where are you? Joseph, are you here? Can't see you in the list. Joseph, can you write something into public chat, please? Am I blind? Is there a Joseph in the list of attendance?
I think he's no more in the chat. In the room.
Oh, we lost
He
him.
just
Oh,
left.
no.
Yeah.
I should probably open Slack. He was like talking about, because that's where we communicated the last time. Sorry for this interruption. Faith, are you there? Faith, can you say something? If you cannot say something, please write something in the chat.
I think Faith just leave also right now.
Oh no. Why? What's happening? Now I think you have to unlock her again. No, she's still unlocked. Maybe I have to promote to moderator. I don't know. I'm just going to do that. Well, that's unfortunate.
Maybe they had to reconnect to activate the microphone.
I can hear Faith. Faith, say something?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. What about Joseph? Where is he? Have some issues? When you start to people that, well, I hope not. Faith, are you? Do you know what's happened? What happened with Joseph? You're unmuted. You're muted.
No, but I could try find out.
Yes, that would be great. And you can share your webcam. Hello, Faith. Hi.
Hi. He says he's joining in a few. He lost connection.
Okay, I see. Well,
yeah. When
he's about to join, tell me, because maybe I'm not fully aware that people are like connecting and reconnecting, and I have to unlock him, right? So the default setting is that you cannot share a webcam. I think you can unmute yourself. That's possible. Just tell me, because sometimes I'm a little bit confused. All right.
Okay.
I think we can start having this nice conversation.
Sure.
I wanted to invite Faith and Joseph because we met in an open source online community, and I wanted to share some experiences with all of you. Because when I introduced online communities in the first lecture, the introductory lecture, I thought many people are like, okay, whatever, what is he talking about? And so I wanted to invite you and share some experiences with us. And so I'm very happy that you're here.
Okay, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Nice. We both met at an online community called Agile Ventures. Faith, are you willing to share your screen maybe and show us the website? What do you think? Is that a good idea?
Yes.
Or shall I?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was actually planning to do that because I had some skills prepared for this session, and I'm trying to find the screen sharing button.
Oh yeah. So you have to be the presenter in order to see the button. Thank you for telling me. So I'm gonna click on your account and say no. You are a moderator already, so you should see a button called Take Presenter, and then you can share your screen. Yes.
On the lower left.
Presenter, I think. and then you have a button where you can share your screen.
Okay. Can you see my
We should have
screen?
trained that before. I think I cannot. Can someone?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, first on the lower left, there is this take presenter, and afterwards,
Now
it looks
something is happening. Excellent. Nice.
Okay.
Cool. I'll make that full screen on my side. There. Right. Now I see your screen full screen. All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. So my connection, there's a problem with my connection today, so it's taking a while because I noticed also when you are sharing, it took me a while to see your screen. So apologies for that. And then there might be background noise because my neighbor is constructing something.
I can hear you very well, and I can see your slides.
Okay. You asked me to share the Agile Ventures site.
So I still see your slides. Are you showing us do you want to share the browser?
Oh, okay. Let me do that. Now I have stopped sharing.
Yes, I can see that. Probably one desktop.
Oh, okay. Now can you see my screen?
Not yet. Now something's happening. Now I can see your screen. Excellent.
It's lagging because the website is still loading.
I see.
Yeah.
That's all right. But that's for an introduction to the other students. That's where we met. All right. So I think I joined Agile Ventures like in 2016, and I just like the concept. So it's an online learner community, and I was like at the time maintaining an open source project, and I just wanted to find other maintainers. And that's where we met.
Sure. Okay, so can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, and I see now a slide. Faith Nittig as software engineer.
Yes. So I have a slide here, and I thought the best thing to share would be the one thing that was common with my interaction in the open source community, and which was how I was able to learn and build an online community. And I'm going to talk about crowdsourced learning. So I think I'm going to define what that is at some point. So if you don't know about it, then you will today.
Faith, are you okay when students share or ask questions in the while you're presenting?
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna open the public chat and try to questions in case someone.
Sure.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay. So if I'm too fast as well, you can tell me. I'll try to slow down. Normally when I'm excited, I get to speak fast. Okay. So this is who I am. I am an open source enthusiast, and I'm also a triathlete, a Rails Girls coach, and I am here because I love connecting with people in my community, and for this case, the technology community. So I'm sure I thought I could start from where I began and how this led me to join the community. And I am so sure that each and every one of you can remember when they decided that they want to start learning programming. And this was me in 2016 when I started. And this was a point in my life where I really wanted to get into programming. But I did do that, but only as a capacity of being a tech evangelist. So in my previous life, I used to model, and being part of the tech community was only as a means of trying to evangelize what being in tech means. So I thought I need to put an end to this and talk what I'm talking about, like walk the talk I'm talking about. So because I kept on evangelizing about programming, getting to programming, but then I wasn't doing any actual thing in programming. So I decided enough is enough and I need to get started. So how exactly did I learn? And this is the concept that I mainly used, or one of the ways I used to learn programming, and I use crowdsourced learning. And crowdsourced learning is actually a very big thing in Agile Ventures. I didn't know at the time that this was crowdsourced learning, what I was, the method I was using to learn with crowdsourced learning, but through Agile Ventures, I knew it had a name, and that was crowdsourced learning. So what exactly is crowdsourced learning? Crowdsourced learning is where, when as a learner, you come up with goals, and the goals that you come up with should not only benefit you, but also benefit the rest of your community. So it's like you have personal goals that can be translated to team goals. And this concept makes it easy for people to understand a concept from not only reading documentations, but from learning each other. And that's how, like, the whole concept of learning in Agile Ventures is based on crowdsourced learning. So that would be, if you want to know more about how crowdsourced learning is done, I think that would be a great place to start. And okay, sorry, I had somebody on mute, so I thought that was a question. And this is really important because every single day our industry keeps on changing. So this is a nice place to know as much as you can, because you get concept from different people. So the concept of crowdsourced learning, for me, I think these are the three main things that will enable you to do. And you get to have access to online resources, and some of these resources, even this webinar that we're having, we have a good examples of people who've done this crowdsourced, who've made this access to online resources possible are these examples. edX, I think Agile Ventures is still maintaining a course on edX on how to get started with Ruby on Rails. And then we have things like Coursera, and also just communicating like we're doing right now online. And then the second thing that crowdsourced learning gives you is the ability to build a developer community. And as you can see from the examples I have, this is a sample of what a community in an open source environment looks like. So you have access to senior developers, you have access to mid-level developers, and you have access to aspiring developers. So I think it's a rich mix of people from different backgrounds. And then through this process of learning with people, I feel like I was able to own my own learning, because like I said, the idea of crowdsourced learning is how do I create my own goals that are not only beneficial to me, but also beneficial to the rest of my members of my community. And I feel like this experience made me own my own learning, which I think is very important as a software developer or as a person in tech, because you can only go further if you own your craft. So why should you learn this way? The future of technology is working with global companies. So you're not only limited to the people in your country. You can have access to anyone in the world. Like, for instance, I'm in Nairobi and I'm able to communicate with you people from Germany. So it's embracing this kind of learning will definitely give you the opportunity to connect with people globally. And while doing so, you're able to get better at communicating with other people and developing your skills. And then we're moving not necessarily 100% away from only work with local software developer, but to global. But I would say majority of the companies are trying to embrace this. And this year was a perfect example of how this was a concept that was made possible it was out of obligation, or rather, like, we didn't have any other options. So this year, I think, was a perfect example of how it's possible to collaborate with anyone from everywhere. And then lastly, I'd like to talk about this story of Ubuntu. Just like the Linux, I don't know if you've noticed, but the Ubuntu sign has, if you look at the logo, it's an aerial view of people holding hands. And I think that's the story of Ubuntu explains it really well. And this was, I've forgotten the details, but I know what the general concepts are. But I think this happened in an African community where there was a photographer who had suits, and he placed it somewhere far and asked children to compete for whoever will get to the tree first will get all the sweets. And he was like, I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and you're all going to run to that tree. Whoever gets there first will get the trees. So he was like, okay, are you ready? Then the kids were, yes. Then he said, okay, go. So he was so surprised by what these children did. And what they did was they all first held hands and started running towards the tree. So at the end of the day, no one, like, they were all winners because they all got there first because they were holding hands. And I feel like this, being in an open source community, contributing is a very perfect example of what Ubuntu is. And you are what your community is, and the goal is always to try and build it. So that's all from me. And this is my email address if you ever want to reach out to me.
Nice, excellent. Unfortunately, there's not many people are unmuting themselves, which is I'm kind of saying from being in the lecture. But that was an excellent talk. Thank you very much. People are clapping in the public chat now. Excellent. You probably don't know, but I'm asking students to give lightning talks, right? So just a talk of 5 minutes introducing one tech topic, and you were the first one now. I didn't know that you actually prepared a presentation, and I really enjoyed it. And that's why I'm now asking students. Here you can see this is how you can give a presentation in an online lecture. Excellent. So thank you very much for the talk. I'm gonna have a look into the public chat if there's some questions right now. People are saying clap and they're saying thanks. All right. If no one is asking a question, I'm going to ask a question, and I would like to ask you if you could quickly show maybe, because you know that the students have been assembled in groups, and I asked them to do pair programming, and maybe you can they are pair programming with their fellow students now. But can you maybe show us the website of Agile Ventures and maybe explain how pair programming across continents works, or in open source communities like that? Because people don't even understand how does it work? How do we meet people, and how does it work? How do you do online pair programming with random people on the internet?
Okay. Can you hear me and see my screen?
I cannot see your screen yet, but I'm sure you're gonna share it soon.
Okay. Let me know when you can see.
Yes, there's something popping up now. I can see.
Okay. So yeah, I think the first step is to ask the questions you just asked, like how can I get started? Where can I best do pair programming? And I would say based on my successful experience at Agile Ventures, I feel like this would be a great place to start. And the Agile Ventures site is here. And I think for you to have access to the Slack channel, you need to sign in. I'm not so sure. But Robert, I think you can share the details later.
Yeah,
But
I shared the link. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think if you sign in, you get access to the pair programming, to the Slack channel. And this would be a nice place because automatically can you see my Slack?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes. So automatically it should be added to the new members channel. And here just people give an introduction of who they are and what they're interested in learning. And there's always a member of the community who would direct you to the possible projects. And in the general channel, there are always events posted of different activities and yes, different events. And the events here are just people collaborating. And what's good about Agile Ventures is you are free to come and create an event here. Like when you come to the events, it might take a while. Yes, there's this button of adding a new event. And if you add a new event, you automatically, it's automatically created in the Slack channel and anybody can join you or you can join other people. And what I do like about the pair programming actually, I would say most of these sessions are mob programming. And the difference between mob and pair programming is just mob has more than 4. Pair is just having 2, like the word says. So the good thing with having mob programming is you have access to different minds from all over, and we're all sharing different concepts at the same time. So it makes it easier for you to understand and ask questions and get differing opinions from people. And then
Yeah. So basically, dear students, it's that simple. Yeah. So you just need a public chat where you can join, and there you are. I think there are thousands and thousands of people in this chat who joined over a couple of years. And that's the whole idea. So in order to find people on the internet to pair program with, you just need a public chat. That's it. Agile Ventures here is now using Slack. There are other communities who are using whatever, like any other chat. The university, HTW, is using a Discord. The Students' Union has its own Discord. There's also a group which I asked to create. It's called peer programming. That's the whole idea. This concept transferred to our university, and you just need a chat. That's step number one, and then you can get in contact. And you could also just share the link right into the chat. And what Faith was just explaining is that the website Agile Ventures is doing an automation about this, right? So you save through the website an event which will then post a link to join in the Slack channel, right? Same as if you would manually do this. And yeah, but now then the events also appear on the website itself. So this is like the whole idea. Does that make sense? Let me quickly create a poll. If people understand like I cannot do. Faith.
Okay.
No. Okay, then I'm going to take the presenter. Only the presenter is allowed to create a poll.
Okay.
People, can you understand this procedure of like, how can I get in touch with people? Just join a public chat and then share an invite link for pair programming video conference, for example. And yeah, I just created yes and no poll. So not too many people vote anymore. I'm going to publish this. So you can see, Faith, in the top, in the bottom right corner, most people understand how it's working, right? So this, I like to use these polls always to get some feedback on the students if they can follow, right? And I really wanted to share how this works with you. Faith, I'm going to create you or give you again presentation missions. Now presenter, and you share your screen again.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this concept is amazing. And there are also other online communities similar to Agile Ventures. I found Code Buddies. So in the I shared, I think, 2 links to online communities. This is Agile Ventures, which I'm experienced in because I used it. There's also Code Buddies, which I like to try to Google other open source communities which are similar. And there's apparently this community which is similar. And I think they work basically the same. They also have a Slack, and you can share invitation links to peer programming, and they can work together. By the way, are there more questions? I mean, there was one person who couldn't really follow. If you're very free to, or you're very welcome to ask your questions in the chat, or just unmute yourself if you have more questions. Doesn't seem like that. I think you can also see the past events on Agile Ventures. Is that possible? Like you can see recordings of events.
Oh, yes. I don't know if you can see recordings. Yes, actually, yeah, you can. If you go to the past events, you could click to whatever event you want.
Nice. And that's also something I would like to recommend to you. If you feel brave enough, and maybe it's not the first thing you're going to do when you join an online community, but step by step, you maybe feel more confident in doing so, and then you think, okay, why should I just share my knowledge with 3? I can recording pair programming and just upload it to YouTube or your favorite video. I'm a big fan of PeerTube, which is an open source to YouTube. I'm also uploading my lectures there. I'm recording this lecture with the same goal in mind, right? We're creating knowledge here. We're explaining how to join open source online communities, record it, and put it online. So not only you students who are right now with us can enjoy the knowledge, or can get some get this information, but also other people maybe. And if you just record your pair programming, this is like a low barrier way of creating documentation. Even those videos, if you create them, this is also a piece of documentation. I mean, why not, right? Not too many people watch them later on, but at least it's out there and it's possible. So you create an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
all this, I know the third guy.
Yeah.
And Sam Joseph, the one in the middle and the top middle, I think he's the founder of Agile Ventures, right?
Yes. He's the founder.
Nice.
And then-
Joseph, you have been very silent a couple of minutes, the last couple of minutes. Do you want to mute yourself and also join in the conversation if you want? If he is
Yeah,
with us.
yeah, sorry, I dropped for a second there in the beginning. I had internet issues, but I'm here now. The reason why I'm quiet is because I don't know if my presentation is going to match Faith's presentation. But yeah, I'll try to see if I have something interesting I can share with all of you.
Yeah, why not? I'm going to give you permissions. Wait for a second. I need to find you in the list.
Yeah, I don't have a presentation for me, so it's going to be verbally. So
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But you're now presenter, and you can share your screen if you want, and you can also create polls and things like that. I'm also promoting you to moderator now. Yeah, just if you want. I just wanted to also like include you in the conversation because I invited both of you.
sure. I'm not sure if Faith is done or there's something else, or I can introduce myself now.
Faith, are you done with your presentation, Faith?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, I'm done. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So what I'll do for me is I'll introduce myself and then I'll cover like how to find your path, like which path you want to take, where you want to end up as a software engineer. And also I'll talk a little bit about networking, why is it important, and open source also, why you should contribute to open source. So my name is Joseph. I'm a software engineer. I work at a company in the US called Crossover Health. But for me, I live in Kenya. That's where I've been raised. And yeah, so a little bit about myself. For me, I'm a self-taught developer. I started learning how to code using a phone. It's a long story. Probably if Robert invites me back again, I can share a little bit about my background. I'll not talk much about that because I don't know how much time we have. But yeah.
Just to get that straight, you didn't have a desktop PC or laptop, right?
Yeah.
So you used your smartphone in order to learn programming. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I actually learned programming by mistake. Maybe I can talk about that a little bit. So a friend of mine, I have never owned a computer actually. I got my first computer when I joined Andela. I'll talk about, I think Faith has covered about Andela. I had dropped off for a second, I'm not sure.
No, she didn't.
Okay.
She didn't introduce Andela. It's your job to explain us what's Andela.
Okay.
Maybe I'm going to write it into the chat. So it's written like this, Andela. Yes, continue on. I'm going to share the link later on.
Yeah. So how I was introduced to programming was, I think, a bit, but it was by chance because it was a friend who showed me how to root a phone that I had. I had an Android phone and he showed me how to root and I was actually interested. I was hooked. I saw you can change your Android version and like upgrade it, because I think mine was like 2.1 and you can upgrade it to 4.0. And wow, and even you can install like a Windows operating system, Windows XP, of course, which was really amazing, and I really liked it. So I went to YouTube using just my phone, and I Googled how to root like a phone. That's when I subscribed to one of the channels where the person usually showed tutorials on how to root your phone. But at that time, I didn't have like my own computer, so I was also limited on how things I could do with my phone. So, but luckily there were people there who had made like applications where you can root your phone even without connecting to a computer. So yeah. So one day I saw that he had posted Python is now on Android. So I looked, I clicked, I went to Play Store, where that's like the store for people who use Android. I'm not sure if any of you use Android or phones or you use iPhones, but it's like an app store for iPhone or Apple users. So I went there and I looked at the screenshot. I saw it was something like a terminal, and I knew about terminal because even though I didn't own a computer, I used to go to a cyber and spend a lot of time there because I was fascinated with computers. Even my neighbors, sometimes they would disconnect their computer or something, and they would just call me to their house to fix it or connect it. And I would go and just, I don't know how, but I'll connect the wires and it will just work, or a mouse. And even though I've never owned a computer before, so I grew up like having a passion of technology. So I'm looking at the screenshots and I see Python screenshots and I see it looks like a terminal. And I know what a terminal is because I've been introduced to the routing world, where you can add custom operating system to your phone. And yeah, when you install a custom operating system on your phone, it comes with a terminal. And yeah, so the first thing I tried to do is like ls to try to navigate to the file system. When I opened the REPL, I didn't know it was a REPL at that time, and I'm typing ls and I'm seeing syntax error. I'm like, wait, syntax error, what is this? Okay, then I tried cd, ls, none of that is working. And then I just went back and read the description. I saw it was like, it was like an environment for you to code Python
Joseph,
programming.
to get this straight, so as a takeaway for the students, you first of all, you started to program on your smartphone, which is something that most of students, I'm very sure, cannot even comprehend, like that you start to program on your smartphone. Second thing is, if I get this right, that you started to learn programming via a YouTube video, right? Something on the internet, which is amazing. Because if you think about it, this means that you got inspired by someone on the internet basically writing a tutorial or do programming. So this means for the students who I'm asking you to share your knowledge, and also maybe if you want, record the pair programming and put it online, this might inspire people like Joseph, right? Who then start to learn programming. And that's how it started. Which year was it, by the way? When did this happen?
That was in 2016.
2016, same year.
Yeah.
And now it's 2020, and it's like, it's amazing. And you're now a senior software developer, and this short amount of time, and I think as far as I'm concerned, you all both just learned with online communities like this and over Andela. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. Maybe shall I share my screen quickly and show maybe just the website Andela, just people have an understanding what we're talking about, because no one has ever heard about it. I'm going to take the presenter then, but you can still speak. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm quickly
So-
going to do that and share the screen while you're talking. Continue.
Yeah, so that's when I saw it was a programming language, and then that's when I Googled like where can I learn or how do you learn programming? I saw books and a video tutorial that I could follow on YouTube, and I started learning programming on my phone. So I would go to YouTube, watch what they are typing, and then I would switch to like the environment for Python on Android, and then I'll type what they are doing. It was like very tedious work, but I loved it because it was something that I was enjoying. So that's when they decided to do more advanced things, which I couldn't do. Well, I learned for loops and like lists, how to declare a variable, but things like opening a file system, you can't do that, and mapping over your files. So I Googled where I could learn programming for free.
So,
Yes.
sorry, this is you can it's a company. People can know how to program, and then they connect these people to other companies. Is that right?
Come again, you're breaking up. I didn't
Joseph?
hear what you said. I didn't hear what you said.
I said I just tried to explain to the other students. Okay, what is Andela? What is he talking about?
Mhm.
And this is like the website, and you have the idea is you build, like you teach people how to program, and then you can connect them to companies. And that's both. That's how you, Faith and Joseph. That's what you also joined, right? Just to
Yeah.
get them an idea. And they're like different offices, and one of them is in Kenya, and this is in located in Nairobi, and that's where you used to go to.
Yeah, and actually
And then-
they don't actually teach you how to write code. You actually do that yourself. The only thing they do is that they simulate like a real world environment for you. So they find projects online, and then they assign you guys like a facilitator, and then they put you in groups where you will just learn by yourselves and help each other out and just communicate. And then they're observing how you guys are doing it. And then once you've done like worked on a project, and then once you're done as a team, then they will do like an assessment and see who's like doing well and who's not. If you're doing good, then you progress from simulation now to apprenticeship, where they even like increase the challenges and things that you're working on. And then after that, that's when now they place you with a client.
Nice.
So it's not like
this,
new.
this means to me that when we, like the students here in this call, are doing more online pair programming, this is even more valuable to you, because for the people that, for example, apply here at Andela, you use online courses to teach yourself, and you use online communities to get in touch with other developers. Is that right? So that's like
Yeah.
the primary source of knowledge.
Yeah, so that's basically how we survived. You had to like watch online courses, ask help for people, and then yeah.
All right. So I would say it's 48 minutes since we started the lecture, and that gives us, I would say, a great overview about how online communities work, what are the challenges, how easy it is to help other people, and yeah, just help mankind. I don't know, planet Earth. Yeah, you have this knowledge. You're here in Germany, and you get this amazing education, and it's something that is worth sharing, I would say. Right?
Yes.
So also, maybe I can add that from my side. If you can also think from the other perspective. Andela is connecting people who want to learn programming with companies, basically. And you can also think this from the other perspective. This is something I can share because I was an open source maintainer. I was having a project called RFM, and I was like helping other people, including you, to get used to the technologies that we were using. At the time, it was Rails, Ruby on Rails, and Emma.js, and things like that. So this is a great way for you, if you're alone on a project, to find other contributors, right? That was the main motivation for me. I didn't have any budget. I didn't have any money to pay people to work on a project, but I was having knowledge, which I could like share with other people and ask them to contribute and collaborate with me on the project.
Yeah. Robert,
Maybe-
do you have
Yeah.
time also, if I can share about like the importance of networking, or there's not enough time currently?
I think it's not enough time, because I would like to continue on with the usual content of the lecture.
Okay.
But it was great, and you can very, very invited to stay with us in the lecture. And I would say, now it's the time for questions. People are also writing. Okay, there's questions in the chat. Joseph and Faith, can you see what people are writing to the chat?
Yes, I can see.
Maybe you can directly answer the two questions at the bottom. Sorry.
So I see, how do they find your job? So they usually have a marketing team in the US, where those teams usually go to companies and like they say, we have a certain engineer with this sort of skills. And then now they usually post, before they will usually post it in the like a Slack channel, where they will post available jobs. And they were like variety. Some were to do with data science, others wanted a senior Ruby engineer, others React, JavaScript front-end developer. So, and for us, we added we were added on that channel. So a group of people who think they match the criteria on the job description, they usually apply for that job, say like 20 people or 10. And then once they apply to it, then there are people who vet and interview them to see if they are a good fit for the job. And then now a few people will be placed on that with that client, depending on how many people the client wanted, how many engineers they wanted.
And Faith is already answering in the chat, but Faith, you're free to unmute yourself. So Faith is answering the question, how can we contribute / get a member of Agile Ventures? Faith, do you want to just speak out loud and explain it? Faith? Hello? Maybe she, I don't know if you can unmute yourself right now. You should always be able to unmute yourself. Okay, I will just write out loud I will speak out loud what Faith was writing in the chat. So if you sign up to the Agile Ventures website, you will automatically receive an invitation to the Slack environments. So a member is just being a member of the Slack channel, being able to write something. That's it. This is really like a low barrier, and there's no strings attached or nothing. It's just a place where you can get in contact with people from other locations, and it's an amazing experience from. Which I can confirm to think about. I'm sitting here in my living room helping people from other continents.
And actually to talk more, because actually it was Faith who introduced me to Agile Ventures. Before, even in my head, I was like, now how will it work when I get placed with people from other country who I've never talked to or met? So when I joined Agile Ventures, it made me confident, even in communication. Like you're able to know things to say, there are things like stand-ups, and you talk about what you did last 24. You just get that confidence when you join.
Yeah, and then when I was working in this open source project called Human Connection, like last year, one of our co-workers, Alina, she met both of you in Nairobi. Is that right? I think I saw this picture.
Yes.
Which is amazing, right? So we were a remote team, and we were people from Europe, and one of us was traveling all the time, and she basically just also traveled through Africa, and in that opportunity, she also said hello to you two people, which was amazing, and we saw the picture later on. Yeah. All right.
So I think
yeah.
how I think Tillman is asking how they can contribute. So basically, how you can contribute is, first of all, like, know exactly what you want to do and what you like. And then once you do that, then you'll know like what you want to do. And then you can like post even in the channel. You can say, hey, I'm interested in learning Vue, and I'm looking to contribute to a project that uses like JavaScript stack, and for front end, it must have like Vue or something like that. And yeah, because you can get distracted with so many things happening in the channel. Others are learning Ruby, others are doing machine algorithms. And yeah, you just need to focus on what you like and then pursue that.
Yeah, and let me share my screen for a second. There's also other communities. So I'm just gonna share the screen to show you another community which apparently works the same. I told you about Code Buddies. So for my introductory lecture, I tried to like Google communities which work similar. So for example, if Azure Ventures is, I don't know, not as active anymore as it was used to be, like I don't know exactly how active people are still in Azure Ventures, but they used to be very active. And if they're not so active, they can just find another community which works basically the same. We have communities, and they apparently use Hangouts. And they even have a calendar, for example, where you can see, for example, they're doing test-driven development with Clojure, or they're doing Django, or they have data science, and they can just join in and get in contact with the people directly, which is nice. So I really like the concept. I'm not so much like fixed to one particular community, just the idea of like having this mentality or the self-awareness. Okay, I do know something, and I can teach it other people, or I can learn with them as well, and help them at the same time. And also, when you learn something and you were able to explain it to someone else, that's the moment when you really understood it, right? So explaining it to other people is one way of making sure you really understand the topic. Peter saying Azure Ventures is not so active currently. All right. Okay, I think it's an hour, and we have 90 minutes in total. And I think that was an amazing introduction to open source communities. And I say thank you very much for being with us. You're very welcome to enjoy the rest of the lecture. I also prepared something, but yeah, you're free to do whatever you like. You can also join the lecture from now on. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for this effect and Joseph. Yes, people are saying thank you. Amazing. All right, so I prepared a little bit about Git internals, and I hope I have the remaining 30 minutes is enough for introducing a little bit how Git internally works. So I have these slides prepared for you. You can see them now. And yeah, this is the diagram which we used to look at when we're talking about full stack development. You have the different parts of a typical web application, and Git is a tool that you can use for all of these, right? If you learn Git, you can use it for everything, even configuration for deployment and stuff. Things that DevOps used to do is now software, and software is mostly text, and you can control or version control text with Git. So it's always good to learn Git. And so Git is a distributed version control, and I want to ask you, what are then, for example, what are distributed version control systems, and what are non-distributed version control systems? For example, centralized version control system. And that's where I'm going to create a new poll for this quiz question. So you tell me which of these are distributed version control systems. I don't know if you even have ever heard about these. And start the poll. So you click. I'm stupid. You can always only click on one option. I forgot. Yeah. Anyways.
You could ask 1 or more, 2 or more, 3 or more, 4 or more.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, that was my bad. But anyways, okay, which one of these you think is a distributed version control system? I'm gonna publish the results. So interestingly, a lot of people of you also ticked SVN, which is not a distributed version control system. It's a centralized version control system. CVS is also a centralized version control system. The two which are distributed is Mercurial and Git. And Git nowadays has become standard. Does it mean for the exercise 0, you already work with Git remotes? And that's one of the natures of Git, that you have different repositories which are all somehow interconnected with each other. Centralized version control means you have one server, and when you make a commit, you make an internet connection and upload your changes to the server. This means you have only one repository, right? One repository which is somewhere centralized and on a server on the internet. Whereas with Git, you have a repository on your laptop, you have a repository maybe on GitHub, and for exercise 0, if you think in the past, we had like at least 2 remote repositories, like the homework repository and the repository of your teams, right? So 3 in total, or even more if you just count every team as a separate repository. We have plenty of repositories, right? Yet the commit can live in each of these, right? If I push to a homework repository and you imported the commit, then you first of all have it in your local repository on your laptop, and if you push it to your team repository, it's also there. And this also means that you have a commit ID. The ID of a commit is the unique identifier of the commit, which is not numeric. If you have one single source of truth, if it's one repository, the repository knows all commits, right? So it can use, for example, use a numeric ID, which is increments. Yeah, you start with commit number 1, next commit will be 2, and so on. So you can have numeric commit IDs, which is not the case if you have remote repositories, because one repository maybe don't have all the knowledge about all the other repositories. All right. And I wanted to share with you how a commit ID is actually created, because learning these internals is something that you can then later on reuse about how Git compares commit IDs, right? For Git, only the commit ID is relevant in order to know whether or not 2 commits are identical, right? It's comparing the commit ID. If the commit ID is the same, then the commits are the same. And I'm going to introduce you how how a commit ID is formed. And I have these 2 links, which I really like. Can I click right here on the link? No, I cannot, but that's not a big problem. I'm just going to open Google Slides and click on the link there. Or maybe Yuri, you can help me. Can I just interactively click on the slides and within the big blue button?
Well, you would have to share your screen either way, right?
Yes, that's what I'm going to do. Right. So I'm going to close public chat for a second, share my screen, and click on this link, which explains how the commit is created. So instead of having a unique ID, which is just incrementing, you basically generate a hash based on the data that is in the commit. And this hash is then, this is unique. So that's the promise. The hash is always unique. And since it's based on the changes, the committer, the author, the current date, the parent commit, and so on. So this is the link which I shared on the slides, which is pretty nice because it's explaining what's actually in the commit, right? And how can I create the commit ID of one commit? Just to explain you what I'm talking about, I'm in the homework repository, and if I say git log, then I can see the commit IDs here, right? This is a commit ID, this is a commit ID, and this is a commit ID, and so on. So where do these come from? The commit ID is formed, and basically you can just go ahead and have a look. Oh, I'm now confused at this gist. And you can see what's in the commit more or less when you do this. So there's a subcommand called cat file commit, and then you give it a commit. Head is a variable, which means the current commit. So I can basically just copy that and paste it in here. And there I can see what's in the commit, what is the input data being used for this commit. So I have a hash of a so-called tree, which is like the entire working directory. Then I have two parent commits because it's a merge commit. Then I have information like the author name, the GitHub, the committer name, which might be different, and then a signature because I'm signing my commits. And this is the commit message. And all of that goes into the commit ID. The commit ID itself is just it's a SHA-1 hash. Whoa, what's going on? It's just an SHA-1 hash of this data, which you can see here. So they are explaining how to create a command that's creating exactly the same commit. This is SHA-1 sum, so you can just put anything in there, and this will create a hash based on the input that's on the left side. And so if that's the current commit, right, head, and that's what's in the commit, then I can use this command to create the same commit, right? So this is C9 something, which is exactly the same commit as here. So I'm asking you to check out this gist and understand what's in there, because they're also listing the metadata that's with one commit, the metadata that you just saw. If any of these change, then you have a different, and you create a new commit, then you have a different commit ID, right? And this, for example, explains why if you do things like commit amend means change the last commit. So I can say commit and then amend, and then I have the last commit, and I can, for example, change something in here. Change the commit message. Every time I do that, the commit ID is freshly generated, and I get a new commit because you can see that the commit ID has changed. All right? Does it make sense? Because I changed the commit message, the hash function, the input of the hash function is changing. Thus, the hash that's generating the commit ID also must change inevitably. Does it make sense? I'm going to quickly create a poll. Where are you? Start a poll. Can you still follow me? Okay, most people are fine with that. If you have questions, feel free to ask. It's always a little bit confusing.
There's one question. Why would we care about the ID?
Yes, that's a good question. That's something I didn't really answer in the first place. So when you push the commit, you might see that that there's already another commit. Like Git is telling you there are other remote commits which are different from yours, and you're asked to pull down the commits. And this is a common problem I want to help you with to avoid. Because if you, for example, do something like commit amend, which changes the commit, your local commit is different from the one remote. Even though you just fixed something, Git is telling you you should pull down the latest changes first, and this creates conflicts. That's what I'm explaining it to you. But you know, okay, I had the same commit which was remote, changed it, now Git thinks it's different, and you're asked to force push it. Does that make sense? I'm having a quick peek in the public chat. So I think there's one message saying yes. I hope that was the one who was asking the question. Okay, there we go. Right. And it's also one of those exam questions. So we have all the exam questions in the homework repository. Where's the homework repository? Homework repository is here. And you can go to archive and go to a file called PDF. And for your computer, because it's too slow, can you still hear me?
We can hear you. We see a white browser screen.
Okay, that's also what I'm seeing. For some reason, my computer is lagging, like it's really slow right now. Come on, please don't. There we go. So one of those questions in the exam, for example, is about Git. And come on. And one of this question in German reads, does a commit amend create a new commit eddy? Yes or no? And we can basically just have a look. If my last commit was 1C72DA and something. If I just say commit amend, what for sure will change is the committer date. So one input of the hash function is committer date. So if that changes, the hash must change, right? Even if I don't change anything and just say write, right? It didn't change the message, nothing. Nevertheless, it's creating a new commit ID, right? That explains it. If you do other things with Git, for example, you do a cherry pick. Cherry pick means get a commit from another branch, maybe called solution. I have a reference solution here for exercise 1 with the commit ID 14, B6, and so on. And if I say, for example, that, this will also create a new commit ID. So I'm taking now this commit ID, putting it on top of my current branch, and have it here, but the commit ID has changed. Yeah. Other things that I can do with Git, which are also changing commit ID, is Git rebase. Because the parent commit, like a rebase would do a similar thing like cherry pick. It will take another commit and put it on top of the commit I'm rebasing on. This changes the parent commit, which will then create a new commit ID. Okay. This is something I would like to teach you, that you always have in mind what is how a commit is formed and what are the metadata which are going into the commit. And if anything of that changes, if anything of these things here changes, the source tree, which is the entire content of the files which have been changed, the parent commit, if your author date or the committer date changes, that's the case with git commit amend, or you change the commit message, this will result in the new commit ID. All right. So this is the difference about distributed version control system, which created commit ID. And if I'm changing something, like doing things like cherry pick, amend, rebase, that will create a new commit ID along with a new commit. And for Git, these commits are different. All right, I'm going to stop sharing again, create a new poll, and ask if you're still with me. Am I too fast? Is everything cool with you? Can you follow? Aha, there we go. More people are saying no. Yeah. Okay. I will slow down a little bit and ask for, wait for questions. Is there something that's something confusing right now? We will cover Git in more than just one lecture, so you don't have to understand everything from here. But I would like to introduce you to Git based on like what is a commit, and later on we'll we cover the topology of the Git graph and so on. So this is not put into one lecture only, but we will put that into distributed in many different lectures.
Robert, can you please just repeat when cases a commit ID will be generated?
When a commit ID is generated,
Yeah, in which cases? When I make a commit, when I make an amend, and what else?
okay, it's generated every time you create a commit, and only when you create a commit, but a couple of commands are creating new commits.
Okay.
Right, so a Git
Yeah,
commit
I mean those commands. I'm talking about those commands then.
Yes, the commands that are creating new commits might be commit, merge, and yeah, these are creating new commits on top of the existing commits. But there are also commits who might not be as transparent to you that they are actually creating based from a previous commit, creating yet another commit, and the previous commit is kind of forgotten, right? It's not referenceable anymore. And these are commit amend, rebase, cherry pick. Yuri, you have more?
I'm trying to think of something, but I think I don't have more.
Yeah. The motivation to explain it to you is because we have an exercise 1, a subtask, which is titled, please don't commit unrelated changes. And one way of keeping your Git history clean and not committing unrelated changes is also to retrospectively clean up the history, right? And in order to do that, you must be able to do things like rebase or amend. And in the next exercise, I'll probably add a new subtask, which means make sure that you have a clean Git history with an explanation what clean means, of course. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, a bit more.
A bit more. Nice. All right. So I'm going to continue on. Yes. So actually, I don't have to share my screen for now. I can use the slides. If I can find them. There we go. Yeah, this is a distinction between Git and GitHub. If you want to learn more about Git, I'm advising you to check out interactive Git tutorials, which are easily accessible and on the browser. There's Learn Git branching, Git Explorer. In case of an emergency, if you messed up your commit history, you can also use ohshitgit.com, which is helping you out in case of like recovering and stuff. And now I want to explain you how you can indeed commit only relevant changes. And one of the things that you should do more often is to check, okay, what is actually now staged when I create a new commit? And you probably know about git diff, but you probably don't know about git diff staged. So you know when you create a commit, you say git add, and then a number of files. This is what we call staging. And git diff shows you all unstaged changes, whereas git diff staged shows you all the that are staged that will be included in the next commit, right? This is something I would like you to suggest to you to do every time before you create a commit. So what I'm doing is when I have a change, okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. Come on. I'm going to say git status, and I have an untracked file. When I add a file, it is going to be staged, which you can see here because it's now green. When I say git diff -- stage, I can see the changes, which will become part of the next commit. Doing this every time before you create a commit will help you a lot to avoid unnecessary changes. All right, that's takeaway number 1 here. Right, now I say git commit and say add example.js. And now I can see this has been added to the commit. So just do that every time. What happened to me last semester for the first exercises is that people were not aware what they were like staging. They basically did things like that, git add the entire directory, and they forgot to say git diff minus staged, and they came up with a cluttered commit, which included things that they were copy pasting. So instead of using git to do version control, they had different versions of a file within the same working directory. Okay, like version_1, version_2 or something. And one of them apparently added all of them and forgot to say diff staged. And then all of the changes ended up in the commit and in the pull request. So if you and I are doing your pull request reviews, it's going to be really hard for us to see what you were doing, because it's really like confusing sometimes when you have a long files changed because you have duplicated files. All right? Does that make sense? It's 20 past. All right, looks a little bit better. Great. Okay, so I'm gonna continue on. So this is one way of like making sure you never commit unrelated changes, right? Because people were asking about XSS1, what does it mean? What does it mean to commit irrelevant changes? And I'm mostly referring to things like you copy files and you by accident commit all of them, and then our files changes really long, and I'm confused because I think like, huh? I saw this file already before. Like, what's the difference? And then I understand. Oh, they accidentally copied the file and committed all of it. All right. Another way of making sure you only commit what you want to do is to do git add -p. -p is short for patch, and this is a way of adding only like parts of changes within a file to the next commit. I'm going to demonstrate that to you. So let's create a file, or maybe change an existing file. Some change. Oh well, and let's make it valid syntax. Hello, SDF, and yet another change, maybe up here. Okay. Close. Aha, there we go. So when I say git status now, I see a change. And I can see the same change when I say git diff. Okay, here are some empty lines. Then there's console log, and there's this console log. When I say git add -p, I can choose which so-called hunk, so a part of changes, I want to add. Right? I can interactively go through all my changes and then say either yes or no. For example, now I'm saying yes, and now I'm saying small or smaller, which maybe it's asking me to commit only the newly added lines. I will see. Oh no, sorry, cannot split this hunk. This is too small, because like this, like that, it cannot split into individual chunks. But if you have larger changes, then you can like split them into smaller parts. Okay, I'm going to say no, I don't want to stage this piece of changes. And now what's actually happening is I see staged changes and I see unstaged changes, and it's the same file. So diff is what I didn't want to stage. Do you remember? I said no to this part of changes, whereas diff staged is showing me what I was adding to, like what I was adding, no, sorry, what I was staging. So when I say git commit, only commit what you want. Then I have this commit here. The commit contains only this change. And I still have my other changes in this directory. And you can still see them with git diff. Git diff staged, obviously, doesn't show me anything because I didn't stage anything so far. And I'm asking you again if you can still follow me. And we'll also have a look into the public chat. Git status -v can also show details, including the textual changes of some uncommitted files. Yes, thank you. All right. Next up, until we are finished. This is one thing I would also like you to ask, to write better commit messages. Many beginners have troubles to write a good commit message when they start off with Git. And many people also use this -m. In my opinion, this should not be, should consider bad practice. Actually, it's nothing problematic about it. It just means that you can keep opening an editor from it. But this leads to a lot of lengthy text messages or just long one-line messages, which are hard to read. And also people are not really taking care of their commit messages. What I would like you to suggest is that you configure a command line editor. In this example, I'm suggesting to use Micro, which is a command line editor, which is easy to use. No Vim, no Nano, no Emacs, and like a normal editor, which is more or less intuitive to use. So you use Micro, you just have a normal editor where you can write something immediately, and you have good mouse support. You can like scroll and select and things like that, and you can save things with Control S, and then you just give it a file name, all right? And you can close with Control Q. And it's just asking you, save changes? No. Okay. So when you configure your editor to be Micro, and then say git commit. Now I don't have any changes, so I'm going to say allow empty. Then Micro is opening up, and you can easily do like write things, and it's better because you can. It's showing you the editor on the entire screen, and this automatically suggests to you that you can write multi-line commit messages, for example, and you're also supposed, for example, to write a title and an empty line, and then you have a body of the commit message, right? So there's nothing wrong about using the -m, but I know from my experience that beginners who use -m tend to write careless commit messages. If you write a commit message, also always think about what you want to tell the other developer. Don't write about what you were doing, because if you inspect the commit later on, you see the actual diff. You see the changes to the files. Always try to explain why I did something, right? So the reason, that's the important part. If you later on want to understand why was something changed, then you check the commit message. And there, if you're lucky enough, the commit author has added the explanation why something has been changed. So that's something that you always should consider. Yeah, and now I'm a little bit, I'm using NeoVim most of the time. But yeah, you just close it with Control S, Control Q, and that's it. And this will lead automatically to better commit messages. If you want to know what are good commit messages, we'll go to the next slide, where I compiled a list of tutorials how to write better commit messages. So, for example, You should write a title which is not longer than 80 characters in the first line, leave the second line blank, and then write a longer text in the commit message body. You can also reference issues on GitHub with hashtag and then number of the issue. You can mention people on GitHub with @ and then mention the name of the person. And then when you push the commit, this person will automatically get a notification. There's even a standard about how to write commit messages, which is called conventional commit messages. And I think, yes, commit messages, why, not what. Once you want to know about a commit, then you do something like git blame, which shows the author line by line along with the code, or git show, which is showing for one particular commit the diff, the commit message, and everything. And I combine that very often when I try to debug code. If I'm not sure about a single line of code, I'm saying git blame. I get the commit ID which changed this line of code, and then checking the commit messages of this line of code, right? So you should always have in mind you write code and you want to communicate with another developer, and you write why you change things. And I think that's it for now, because we're at the end of the lecture, and I'm asking you to ask questions, and I'm going to check the public chat for more questions, and then we start to go into the seminars.
Maybe you can say 1 or 2 words about, I can also say it myself, what we do in the seminars.
Right. So since the current homework is due next week, we continue on with the current homework, and you and I, can help you. Can help you with it. We will again join the rooms, the big blue button rooms on Moodle, one after another. And again, I'm asking you to take care that you distribute yourselves into the 2 slots. So half of the group should be in the next slot. The next half of the participants should be in the second. In 15 minutes, we make a break. I think the first seminar, the first block, will start in 15 minutes.
And if you need immediate attention, I, and I guess Robert as well, we will be in this lecture, and you can just write us a message so we can directly have a look in your group.
Yeah, and since we currently have a chat for real communication, last week I accidentally shared the wrong invite codes for the Students' Union Discord chat. I made a mistake myself. I wrote a message to the forum with the fixed invitation link to this Discord chat, and I also put it in the Moodle. And yes, so that was my bad. Sorry for that. I think so far only 2 people have joined the pair programming room. I'm asking you to check that out. You know, this pair programming room is like the same concept as with online communities, which we learned earlier this lecture. So it's a common place where you just join in and you can directly talk with people, and you can ask for pair programming partners and ask questions. And I will be online in this Discord chat as well. So if we are finished with exercise 1, there's no need for the seminar, correct? That's wrong, right? If you're only interested in submitting the homework, well, yes, but you're here to learn something, not to submit homework. And you can learn more about Vue.js, of course, and find a routine where you join in with your team members and share knowledge. And of course, you can spice up your homework, right? You don't have to only submit what is asked for, but you can also submit other things, make a new pull request, right? So have one pull request for exercise 1, have another pull request with additional features. Think about, for example, form validations. I saw 3 reviews or 4 reviews already, and one of them had form validation errors, which is nice. Like, why not?
Also, another thing is, I think we will talk about this a little bit more in depth next week, but a few groups already submitted their pull request, and we already went through them. I think there was more like 4 groups or something like that. So in the future and this time as well, it will be that we can already review those in the first week, give you feedback, and this gives you time to improve your your pull request in the week afterwards. So there is a better chance for you to gain all points. So if you are in one of those groups, have a look at your pull request. Have a look at our annotations and comments, and then you might be able to get the rest of the points as well.
Yeah, and I'm going
maybe
yes.
Maybe just one thing. We have received the pull the response, or maybe your feedback, Robert.
Mhm.
And I just fixed everything, but I didn't make a new pull request, so I forgot it. But I fixed everything. You see it.
All right,
So
so we'll have another look.
Okay, nice.
So in the public chat, people are asking or telling things. Saying a Git blame plugin that you can add and will automatically see who changed what in the code base. Yeah, true.
Last question is important.
Yes, please clarify deadline. So we made another mistake with the exercise 1, and a fellow student made me notice about it. So the due date is wrong in the original exercise description. That's why I accepted a pull request by this fellow student who fixed the due date to the homework exercise 1 description. This is a new commit on the homework repository, and that's precisely the situation you are prepared for, because I said you should have a look on the homework repository, also watch this repository in GitHub, get notifications for anything that changes in this repository, and transfer those commits into your own team repositories, right? So there's a new commit which is fixing the due date, but of course you might have transferred the commits to your team repository before that happened. Now there's a new commit and you're all asked to import that commit into your team repository. Does it make sense? Okay. The question is actually not about the due date in October, but I see. Wow. Okay. I'm not so much into detail. Like the question is about whether or not the deadline is like midnight that day or the day before, I think. I would keep it like that. It's the if I say it's 28th of October, what is the exercise? I think it's 28th of October, which is currently on the exercise description. That means that day and on the 24-hour clock, 23 and 59 minutes and so on. So you can still submit your homework on that very date. Does it make sense? All right, he has to go, but he says probably, oh no, that was Joseph. Yes, so the student knows now the answer.
To be honest, I think it makes sense to already have it submitted by the end of the 27th, the next Tuesday, so we can already start together on the next assignment. But I think if we, I think it's also, not a deal breaker if you submit it on the Wednesday.
Yeah,
afternoon.
no, of course not. The goal is to make you like go into programming, like train the skills that you see in the lecture theoretically and apply it to your code, right? We just want you to learn something. And if that happens on the same day as the due date, well, right? And it's also not so difficult to submit the homework before the due dates. It's not so difficult, the homework. Yeah, thank you very much, Joseph, for joining us. Joseph is leaving. All right. Unless there are more questions, I would say let's call it a day for now. And we'll see each other in 5 minutes from now because it's already 3 p.m. and 40 minutes. Sorry for this short being, like, what's in English? Extra time. All right. Then, thank you very much for
15
joining
minutes.
us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.